Hey everyone, Sire here. I have finally finished my 5 cards for the January 2020 card kit for Scrapping for Less. Um, Ideally, I would like to eventually become fast enough to do the reveal and create the cards at the same time, but due to working and such, I just never have the time. But I finally got them. I had a lot of fun with this kit, and without wasting too much time, let's start going right to the first card. So I started off with collection 1. I did sort it all out knowing which one was which, and this is the gnome one. Um, I decided to take the stamp that comes with it, and there is a die cut if you get the um, banana splits. You do get the outline. So I'm using my archival ink, and I'm just going to use my Misty to create a solid stamp. Because what I'm going to do with this one is I want to use some new water pencil crayons that I have. They're called Derwent Ink Tints, and they're supposed to be just a little different than water pencils. So once this is dried, and I did off camera just heat set that a little bit, just very quickly, because I didn't want to have the colors run. And then I bring up my pencils. These are something I just purchased, and I was very excited to finally get a chance to use them. I'm sorry that I didn't actually get up close so you can actually see, because I actually wasn't planning on leaving the coloring in. Usually I kind of get that out, but I did get this video down pretty quickly, or pretty much down to 35 minutes, so I figured that I'd leave the coloring in after all. The colors that I'm using for the first one was sea blue, and then leaf green was the second one. And then I will use the color bark, which is what I'm coloring right now. And I'm just outlining just basic. I'm still learning because I haven't really got to play with them. And these, like I said, are a little bit different than the watercolor pencils. Well, there's 2 factors. The first of all, the paper that I'm using is not watercolor. So I am actually using the 110-pound Neenon paper that came with the kit. So I have to be very careful not to add too much water because that paper will start to wear. But also I noticed that, and you'll see if you look closely, that once that ink sets, like once you add water and you don't move it fast enough, it absorbs right into the paper and it's done. It's almost like using a Copic marker, or any marker for that fact. Once it sets, it was set. Like I could not move it. I tried moving it around with more water, but I got no movement whatsoever. So that was very interesting, and I will play around with them some more just because I had a lot of fun. I then took the red, I think it's called Poppy Red, and I just did the noses very quickly, very little. And I'm using the paper towel to just take off the water because, like I said, this is not watercolor paper. And so I'm just dabbing it. I know that's not probably the best thing to do, but... and for the hair, I used Baked Earth. No, sorry, Ink Black. And then I just used very little, just so that when I added the water, it turned into more of a dark gray. That's what I was looking for, and I was kind of looking for a little white muzzle as well. Just playing around, see what I can create with these. And I was happy with it. I definitely see some improvements, but very happy with this product, and I would recommend anyone who wants to play around with them. I would highly recommend it. In fact, I kind of wish I actually spent the money and got more colors than just the ones I had, because it limited me a bit. So what I'm doing here is I want to color that white tassel part, the trim, but I don't want black. And so I took the pencil and I just wrote on a scrap piece of paper, and I just watered it down just to create a softer gray. At least that's what I was trying to do. It turned out, and but it's, like I said, practice, and but definitely a lot of fun. For the last hat, what I'm going to use is Baked Earth. This is more of a soft brown compared to bark, and I guess more of a reddish brown. Once again, just outlining the outside. And I also use it for that hand. I noticed there's a little hand sitting there. And I'm just going to take some water and I'm just going to try to push it as fast as possible outwards so that at least I don't have too much white and it's dark around the edges and lighter in the center. I added some more pencil as I move around just to make sure I get some good coverage. I wasn't looking for perfect solid color. I kind of wanted that dark edge with a kind of a white center. And then once again, I'm trying to fill in that trim there with some of the gray. And then I take some of that brown and I just add a little bit more just so that it's not too white. Once again, just playing. I was actually really happy with it. I really liked this little image. It's really cute. A little mischievous gnomes, if they look like they're up to some fun mischief. So I've taken that die that came with the banana split. You do not get that unless you buy banana split. So I've cut that out and I've cut out all my pieces of paper. And now I'm going to stamp that "You Are Awesome" sentiment. It's the one I like the best in that stamp set. I just love those type of encouraging sentiments. And so I'm using my StazOn glue, and the reason is because I realized when I use this, it's really goopy and wet. So I thought, why not try using some clear embossing powder on it, see if it works. And it did, actually, but you have to act fast because this will dry quicker than probably some others, but like I have an embossing ink and it stays wet longer, but this was fine, and I did get a nice coverage. Now this card did cause me a little bit of grief. It wasn't actually, well, you'll see. Let's just say what you're seeing right now is not what the end product will be. It totally gets flipped around on me, and it's because I was just too, let's just say, too excited with my card kit and creating cards that I wasn't paying attention. So anyways, I'm matting all my colors with the craft cardstock, which came with the kit, and I'm just using some of the scrapping for less paper. I really like this one. This is the one I mentioned in my reveal, and I try to get the pencil crayons to match those colors, and I thought it was not too bad. So now I'm just playing around with placement and seeing what I like to do. And as I was doing it, I decided to, well, there's the orange. I was thinking about orange. And the reason is because underneath that one gnome in the very front, the die cut actually cuts it out in the bottom, and I didn't really know what to do with it. It kind of stood out to me, but I left it. So what I decided then was to take that string that came with collection 1, and I just decided to double it up and tape it along. And this gave me a quick and easy 2-line string across the whole base of that center card. I don't know. I mean, you could have, I guess, wrapped it around twice, but I just felt this was a little bit easier because once it was taped on one side, I just pulled it and it just created a perfect space between it. This just seemed to work really well for me, but I had 2 little pieces of string left over, and I actually forgot to make a bow out of it, but I can always use it for another card. It wasn't, I don't think it's too much of waste because I can make some bows out of it. So anyways, I was going to glue this flat onto the card, but you'll see that I will lift it up with some mysterious foam tape. I don't know where it came from. Or sorry, I know where it came from, but I don't know what the brand is. It's very sticky, extremely sticky. It sticks to my scissors, it sticks to my fingers. I can't wait till I finish it up and never have to use it again. But I got it for a good deal at a yard sale, so I will use it. Anyways, so I'm going to stick that onto my card, and then this is where I start to realize, oops, it's upside down. So I try to take it off. So heed my advice, always check which way your card is. So anyways, I had to rip it off, destroyed the card base, and now I'm gluing onto a new card base. And I double checked to make sure that it was the right way. So now that I have that all glued on, I'm now going to get my little gnomes, my little mischievous gnomes, and I'm just going to position them onto the left side of the card. And right here, I'm just getting my sediment all ready. I'm going to mat it with the exact same cardstock, with the craft cardstock that came with the kit. And then I'm just going to start gluing everything on. I will do a little bit of foam tape at the top just because that middle piece is raised a bit. And then the rest of it, I will just use some of my art glitter glue. Oh, no, I'm going to use some scrapbooking double tape. I actually move back and forth between this and art glitter glue just because I like both of them, but the double-sided tape, even though it is handy, it is more time-consuming, and it's also less forgiving once you put it down. The art glitter glue, I can always just put it down and slide it around. Now, just finding a position that I like it, and but I will put it up into the right-hand corner there. And I'm just going to use some more of that foam tape, and this time, I think this is a different one. Looks like little squares, yes. So I must have used a different one, EK Tool foam squares, and I'm just going to put that at the top. Then out of the kit, there's also some orange enamel dots. So I decided that I would put some of those on the card as well. And I just found one big one and two small ones was a perfect little fit. And that is card number 1. Now, moving on to the collection 2, which is also card 2, I'm going to use the buffalo stamp onto some of the plaid cardstock. I'm going to try stamping it on this plaid cardstock and then creating something out of it. This was an inspiration from a video that I saw from Jennifer McGuire where she was creating cards from cardstock and stamping on them. So I'm going to use my Staz-On glue, which mentioned earlier that it does stay wet a little bit longer, and by doing this I can use some clear embossing powder and heat set that and create more of a texture. And by doing this, the image stands out a little bit more than just ink on itself on plaid. It is not the best pattern paper to use for this, just because it is very dark, very bold. It would work a lot better if this was cardstock that was tone on tone, but you know, work with what we have. I really like this paper, and so I'm going to try my best to see what I can come up with. So I'm going to heat set this one as well. What you'll also realize, as I keep forgetting to use the anti-static powder, and it really messed up this red one. So it didn't actually heat set very well because I actually brushed off most of it with a paintbrush, but that's okay. I'm just going to fussy cut this all out now, and I'm going to keep the whole red one because I'm going to use that as the base and put the white or the brownish creamy one on top of it. So just fussy cutting it, following right as close to that black line as possible because I don't want an edge. And then, sorry, just getting a little bit of water. And once this is done, I'm just going to play around with the placement, but what I do is I start trimming off most of the pieces so that I create a two-colored buffalo. So first I'll cut off that piece, so then I have, we'll ignore this because I was just testing to see if that leg worked, but I didn't like the look of it, so I decided to cut off both legs. And then now I have a red buffalo, plaid buffalo, with the white on top. And the reason I wanted the white on top is because you can actually see the face a lot easier on the lighter plaid. Unclogging my glue, and then I will set that down, and there is my buffalo. I'll clean up my desk area, and then I'm going to get my paper out. I'm looking at that leg again. I was determined to use that leg, but it just didn't make it. So I'll clean up my desk and make sure there's no ink, no glue, and all that, and then I'm going to start moving towards the rest of the card. And the paper that I'm using on this one is the craft cardstock, and this black and white is actually part of collection 2. I really like the fact that we got some solid colors because I can do things like this. Of course, you could have used the white cardstock that came in the kit, or you could have used the whipping cream cardstock that came in the kit, but I decided to use the ones that came in the collection too. And all I'm doing is making some strips. I really don't know what it stands for. I guess maybe dirt and snow, but I was just having fun. I really liked layering these strips and making this funky, odd shape. So they're not straight, they're kind of crooked, and there was no measuring or anything. I just put them together and kind of twisted on the card to see what I got. I kind of wanted to create the idea that a buffalo is walking down a slope of snow, a path or whatever, and then in the distance there is another slope, and that's where I'm going to put some of those clear sticker trees. So I'm just going to trim this off, and then I get this really cool striped effect. And I'm going to mat it on this black so that we have about 1/8 of an inch black border around the whole card. And this whole thing is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Next, I'm going to take that sentiment that comes in the kit, or the collection, sorry, and it's called Have a Wild Birthday. I like this one. This one is looks like it's wild. It has a buffalo. There's trees. Works perfectly. And it just happened that that strip that I used was a perfect width for this sentiment. I could have moved it up a little bit higher, but that's okay. No one's gonna say anything. it's okay. So now I'm just playing around with the trees, trying to figure out which sticker I want, and they're not the easiest to get off that paper. I can tell you that. But they're really nice, really realistic trees. And what I kind of wanted to do was make it look like they were on that slope there, and just in the distance there. So just positioning it, trying to get it straight. And then I'm just going to start lining up everything, and just to create so that you can still see the sentiment and have that, everything lined up. And I am going to prop this up with some foam tape. This is EK Tool foam squares. They work very well for me. They come in many different sizes. And I can even use that little skinny sliver on the side there for the really small pieces. And I'll probably do it here. Yeah, there we go. And then I'm just going to put that, need a little bit more, but I'll put that down right near the bottom left corner, kind of making it look like it is walking on that path that is kind of a trail inside the snow. Then I'm going to take some of these little embellishments. I take the little pine needles and pine cones, and I just take 2 of them, and I put them on like if it's just on the ground. So there's other trees in the area where the buffalo is roaming, but you just see the 2 in the distance. I'm going to trim off any excess hanging over, and then I'm going to glue this onto a A2 size card, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And I make sure it fits perfectly, so you just see that black border. I take some of the enamel dots. It does come in collection number 2, and I do the traditional 3, 1 big one and 2 small ones, and I scatter them off. Move that down a little bit, just didn't want it on top of the snow. And just clean up my desk, and that is card number 2. I really like this one. This one's fun. Very woodsy. Okay, card number 3. This one was definitely a challenge. The paper in this kit was bright, or this collection, sorry, is really bright blue with gold and yellow coloring. So for this card, I pretty much just started without thinking what I wanted to do. I just said, here's the pieces, and I'm just going to keep cutting, and I'm going to record everything that I do and see what happens. Actually, I like the card. It turned out really well. But right here, I am using some Nuvo colors. And I'm going to be using Blueprint, Ultramarine, and French Navy. The French Navy is the darkest and the Blueprint is the lightest. And then I'm going to use Lemon Drop and Indian Summer for the yellow. But what I wanted to say was I did not let this ink set or dry enough, and in the left side there, and even a little bit on the right, the ink did bleed. So I need to remember to heat set it and or to dry it, sorry, not heat set it, but just let it heat it up so it dries quicker before I start using the alcohol markers. And so what I'm doing is I'm taking this black jelly roll pen and I'm outlining everything to create a crisper line because those inks did blend it a bit. Then I've cut out a piece of that blue cardstock, and that is probably roughly 3 1/8 by 4 inches. And as I'm looking at it, I felt like that white square was just standing out too much. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a piece of the yellow lemon drop cardstock that comes in the kit, and I'm going to cut a square the same size, and then I'm going to offset them each. So the white one, which is that's the Nina white crest paper, the 110 pound. And I'm going to have that centered on the blue square. And then I'm going to take that yellow one and I'm just going to offset it a bit crooked behind the white one. That was I think I said that a little harder than I needed to. But just so that it's not hanging over too much, I did trim it down with my paper trimmer. And I need to use my scissors because I think my blade is a little old, so it left a little frays. So I'm just using my scissors to trim all those frays off. So I kind of want it crooked, but I want the white to be straight. And the cardstock will hang over and I'll just trim it. So using my art glitter glue, which is one of my favorite glues so far, and I'm just going to glue that onto the yellow, making sure that the white will look straight and the yellow will be crooked. And then I'll glue that whole thing onto the blue cardstock. Oh, sorry, the blue paper, which was part of collection 3. Then I'm going to take the scissors and I'm going to trim off just a tiny little bit of hanging over. Then, after I glue this onto the card base, which is an A2 card size, it's going to fit perfectly, I saw on the corner of my eye some strips of paper. And I wanted to see if I can add just a little bit more to this. And I did that. And I'm like, ooh, I like that. And once my eye catches something, I will go for it. It may not stay in the end, but definitely it caught my eye enough to do it. And I'm glad I did. It just added just a little bit more to the card. So it broke up that white center piece, and not too much because it's the same paper that was used for the background, the blue background. It's just the reverse side. And so I just put them sideways to cover the white and the yellow. So it's actually covering it both. You could have actually done this where it was behind or just, you could play around with it, but this, I really liked it. I did get the enameled dots that were in the collection, but I decided to use only one in the center of the crown. And that's card number 3. Card number 4 is by far my favorite one. It makes me laugh, and I'm looking at it right now, and I just love it. I love these Sunny Studio stamps. I had a lot of fun last month with the snail mail one, and I had fun with this one too. I didn't create a scene per se, or actually, I can't say per se. I did not create a scene, but I did have a lot of fun using that saw. So using the archival ink, I believe it was, I'm just stamping that, making sure to get a good coverage, and then I put the little smiley face in the saw. I like that. That reminds me of Lawn Fawn with that little smile. And sorry, I'm looking at the card again. And I take my Nuvo markers again, and I'm going to use the same blues as I did with the other card, and that's the Skylight Blue, the Forget Me Not Blue. Oh no, these ones are different. Sorry. These are Skyline Blue, Forget-Me-Not Blue, and Baritone Blue. Baritone is the darkest, and Skylight is the lightest. There's the baritone, and then I'm just going to do the Forget-Me-Not, and then I'll fill it in one more time with the Skylight Blue. For the saw, I'm using some Spectrum Noir alcohol markers. And those are BG1, BG2, and BG4. So I'll use BG4 on the outside, and I'm going to go along the whole saw, the teeth. And I'm going to do the same with BG2, and then I'm going to go back over the whole thing with BG1 just to merge it all together. And this is where I started having a little fun. I said, what is a saw with a smiley face without some arms and legs? So I took a black jelly roll, and first the white one to trim, and I just lightened the smile, and then I drew these little hands in a triumphant stance and little legs. And I just absolutely love it. It's just so cute. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, I just love it. So this card, I actually used one of my favorite cards in this kit, and it's the one with the saws, the hammers, and everything. It's just a really nice piece of paper. And I found some others that matched it well, and I've matted everything with a black licorice cardstock that comes in the card kit. Here I made a mistake. I accidentally put the sticky paper on the mat, so I actually had to stick it to the envelope, or to the card first, because that stickiness would have shown on the trim. So anyways, going back, I'm now going to stamp this back onto the black cardstock, and I'll just keep doing this for each layer. So there is several layers to this card, but it definitely turns out really cute. So that's the plaid one there. Really nice, subtle blue and gray plaid. I think I give up on the tape and I start using the glitter. Yeah, there's it go. I gave up on the tape, it was taking too long, so I used the glitter glue to just start matting all my... I should probably invest in one of those ATG, is that what they're called? The tape guns? They seem really handy. Right, so here we go. Here's my fun little saw. Oh my goodness, it's so cute. I love that saw. I can't help, I just love it so much. Maybe I should do it with the hammer too, make another card. Okay, so now I'm going to, I've already stamped it, sorry. I ran into some problems and so that got off camera. But I'm going to trim, I really need to change this blade. You'll see I'm having, oh my goodness, I'm having so much trouble with this. That paper keeps moving and then it gets caught. And I'm just trying to trim it down so it's a small piece. But what it says is, for the best dad I have ever saw. And of course, there's a saw on the picture, so that just works so well. And I just try to get this down just as skinny as possible, and then I'm going to fishtail both ends. But I was definitely having trouble with this paper cut trimmer, but all worked out. Just trimming the excess so it's equal on both sides, and there's some fishtails. Always adds a nice little touch when you do that. And then I will mat that on some more black licorice cardstock. I'm just trimming off some of those frayed ends. Using my glitter glue, I will stick that on. And then, of course, once that's set, I will trim off the black and create some fishtails on that as well. And just trim off too much. It was a little off center, so I'm just trimming off where the border was just a little bit thicker in other areas. Once that is done, I will clear that out and I will glue it to the card just below my really cute saw. The very happy, triumphant saw. Not sure what he's happy about. Doesn't matter. He's happy. I'm happy. Everything is awesome. Now I'm going to take some of those orange enamel dots that came in this kit, or this collection, and I'm just going to do the same thing. One big one, two small ones. I'm really like doing that combination. And that is that card. Okay, on to my last card. So they've switched it up a bit. This stencil is now actually part of the banana split. And so I thought it was part of the other collection, so I want to use it in this card. and it came with a mermaid ink by Distress Ink. It's called Mermaid, I believe. And so what I've done is I've taken a piece of that cardstock, the Neenah 110 cardstock, and I just took the ink pad and I just lit it right across the whole sheet 3 times. And now I'm taking the same color and I'm using the stencil to very lightly dab it. So I'm not doing a solid impression. It's actually, if you look at it, it's very faint. You can tell that it looks like a sponge or something that's making those crowns. And I just wanted to try something different. I just wanted to create something beachy, interesting. Well, actually, I wasn't trying to do beachy. That's just what it looks like as I look at it. But what I've done is I've taken that Birthday King stamp from, I believe, Collection 3, and I'm just going to stamp that, and I'm going to stamp it on the Neenah 110 cardstock, which is alcohol friendly, I believe. And I'm using the archival ink, and I'm just going to do this a couple times because this stamp is rather large, and it just needs to be done about 2 or 3 times just to get a good solid print. There we go. And wipe off my Misty. I keep forgetting, and you can see it's getting dirtier and dirtier. I should probably figure out how to clean that properly. And what I'm going to do is, because it didn't look perfect, or I shouldn't say perfect, it just looked like it was getting lost, I took some of that glitter paper, which also came in kit 3, and I cut a square that was just 1/8 wider around. And now to create a full, complete look, I'm adding that crown stencil onto this piece too. So it looks like it's covering the whole, all the white. Wherever there's white paper, that crown is going across, and what's separating it is that glitter piece of paper. And I'm just going to clean that stamp. I want to make sure that it doesn't get damaged. And then I'm going to use some double-sided tape to put this onto the glitter, because I don't want it to move. And I think that if I use the art glitter glue, it may not have got a good coverage. But I'm not sure. I haven't really tried, but I just didn't want to take a chance. So this is the scrapbook.com double-sided tape. And I'll just set that onto the glitter cardstock, and then I will glue that onto the background there. And just having that glitter, that very thin glitter, you could have used more, but it just creates that division between the white on both. And so there's that sticky double-sided foam tape. I'm using 3 big pieces, and I'm going to peel that off, and I'm going to set, oh my, it's all over my fingers, I could tell. And I'm going to set that in the center. Then I'm not going to do matting or anything. I'm just going to glue that onto an A2 size card, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And it'll have a white border around the outside. Then I went and got those really pretty sequence mix, and I'm just placing them all over and seeing where I like them. And it comes in a mixture of blue, white, and these orange discs. And once again, I'll just keep moving them all over the place until I'm happy and just pleases my eyes. And then once that's done, I'll take my art glitter glue and I'll start attaching them one by one. So sometimes I play a little longer than I thought. There we go. Now the glue is commenced. So just pick it up, drop it, pick it up, drop it, and I'll just do that for each one of these little sequences. I really liked how this card turned out. It's not something I would have thought of doing purposely. It's just I had these pieces in front of me and I decided just to do it. I like to do that. Just turn the camera on and see what happens. So that's the final 5th card. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to show you one by one in slow motion, or real time, I should say, and give you a closer look of what each one of these cards look like. This one's really nice. That's a very nice woodsy one. Yeah. And I would say that this one was definitely the challenging one, just because the card selection was very tough for me. But I really like how that one turned out. And yeah, there's my saw. Oh my goodness, that one just makes me smile. I need to make more cards like that. Just have them hanging around. And then there's card number 5. Well, I hope you enjoyed the cards that I have created. I hope that at least it created some inspiration for you so you can come up with some great ideas yourself. And thank you for watching. I definitely had a lot of fun with this kit, and especially that saw. That saw is just so cute. I'll never let that one go. That one I love. But thank you so much, and I will see you around. Take care. Bye.